Every subgenre of metal had a first band, the one that built the blueprint everyone else copied. Most of them never got to see what they started. Tonight, 8 artists who invented entire subgenres of metal and then vanished completely. Number 8. Mick Harris, Napalm Death. Mick Harris didn't just play drums for Napalm Death. He's the guy credited with coining the actual word grindcore, and he's widely regarded as one of the inventors of the blast beat itself, that impossibly fast machine gun drum pattern that became the backbone of every extreme metal genre that followed. He played on both sides of Napalm Death's 1987 debut Scum, a genuinely strange feat, since the album was recorded with 2 entirely different lineups, and Harris was the only person who appeared on both halves. That album also contains You Suffer, a song that runs about 1.3 seconds, officially recognized as the shortest song ever recorded, and Harris's blast beat is the engine underneath it. Then, in 1991, at the exact moment grindcore was starting to explode into a global underground movement, Mick Harris walked away from it entirely. He left Napalm Death and started a project called Scorn. Not fast, not aggressive, but slow, minimal, bass-heavy dub and dark ambient music, almost the total sonic opposite of everything he'd just helped invent. He later told an interviewer he'd essentially retired from the music scene altogether, choosing a quiet life built around weekend river fishing over touring. The man who helped build the blueprint for grindcore spent the following decades making hypnotic dub records most metal fans have never even heard. Number 7. Paul Masvidal and Sean Reinert, Cynic. Before Cynic released a single full album, Paul Masvidal and Sean Reinert were already playing on one of death metal's most important records. Chuck Schuldiner's band Death recruited both of them for the 1991 album Human, a record widely credited with kickstarting technical death metal as its own genre. But it was Cynic's own debut, Focus, released in September 1993, that took things somewhere nobody in extreme metal had gone before. Fusing death metal's speed and brutality with jazz fusion, vocoder-processed clean vocals, and progressive rock complexity. The recording sessions were nearly derailed entirely when Hurricane Andrew tore through Florida right as the band was set to begin tracking, destroying their rehearsal space and a bandmate's home. Focus is now considered a landmark, genre-defining album, but at the time, the market's response was cold, and touring behind it wore the band down fast. By the fall of 1994, barely a year after releasing what would become one of the most influential records in progressive metal history, Cynic simply broke up. Masvidal and Reinert scattered into other projects, other bands, other lives. Cynic did not return as a functioning band again for 13 years, not until 2007. An entire generation of technical death metal bands grew up worshipping an album whose creators had already vanished before most of those bands had even formed.
If you just learned something you never knew before, there is a whole lot more where that came from. Hit subscribe to The Rock Lens. Every single week we go deeper into the real stories, secrets, and hidden history behind the music you have loved your whole life. The button is right there. One click. We will see you in the next one.
Number 6. Scott Carlson, Repulsion. In June 1986, 4 guys from Flint, Michigan, crammed into a basement studio for 3 or 4 days, and recorded an album on a total budget of around $300. It was fast, chaotic, blast beat driven, and packed with horror movie gore lyrics, a sound so far ahead of anything else happening in metal at the time that it's now widely credited, alongside early Napalm Death, as one of the two foundational blueprints for grindcore itself. The album was called Horrified. Almost nobody heard it when it was actually recorded. No label wanted it. The tape circulated hand-to-hand through the underground metal tape trading scene for 3 straight years, while Repulsion, as a band, simply stopped existing. They broke up in 1986, practically the moment the recording session ended, before a single copy had an official release. It wasn't until 1989 that Horrified finally got put out properly, on a label run by members of the band Carcass. By then, Repulsion was already gone. The band that helped invent grindcore disbanded before the rest of the world even knew grindcore existed, and Scott Carlson spent the years afterward, largely out of the spotlight, while the sound he helped build went on to shape Cannibal Corpse, Pig Destroyer, and virtually every extreme metal band that followed. Number 5. Euronymous, Mayhem. Øystein Aarseth, known to the world as Euronymous, formed Mayhem in Oslo in 1984, and across the rest of that decade, he built something no band before them had fully assembled: the entire aesthetic template of modern black metal. Corpse paint, raw and deliberately abrasive production, blast beats, occult imagery, and a genuinely uncompromising, anti-commercial attitude toward the music industry. In 1991, he opened a record shop in Oslo called Helvet, Norwegian for hell, and its basement became the actual physical meeting point for the musicians who would go on to found Emperor, Burzum, and Darkthrone. Euronymous wasn't just in a band. He was building the infrastructure for an entire genre, block by block, out of a single storefront. Then it all came apart with brutal speed. His band's vocalist, known as Dead, took his own life in 1988, a tragedy Euronymous responded to in deeply controversial ways that fractured the band's original lineup. And in August 1993, a former collaborator and rival named Varg Vikernes drove from Bergen to Oslo and murdered Euronymous outside his own apartment. Mayhem's landmark debut album, De Mysterious Dom Sathanas, was still unfinished at the time, its guitar parts recorded by a man who would be dead before the record ever reached listeners, its lyrics written by a vocalist who had already taken his own life 2 years earlier. The album wasn't released until May 1994, credited to 2 men who never lived to hear the finished version. It's now considered the single most influential blueprint in black metal's history, built, quite literally, by 2 people who were both gone before the world ever heard it. Number 4. Al Cisneros, Matt Pike, and Chris Hackius, Sleep. By 1996, Sleep had already built a cult following on the strength of Sleep's Holy Mountain, a record so devoted to Black Sabbath worship and heavy, down-tuned riffing that it helped define an entire strand of stoner and doom metal. A major label, London Records, signed them, expecting a follow-up they could sell. What they got instead was a single song, one continuous piece of music, well over an hour long. Built from slow, hypnotic, endlessly repeating riffs, a genuine sonic pilgrimage, the band referred to as Dope Smoker. London Records was, by every account, they called it unmarketable and flatly refused to release it. Sleep went back into the studio, trimmed the song down, retitled it Jerusalem, and resubmitted it. London rejected that version too. It was a total deadlock. The label wouldn't budge, and the band refused to compromise the vision any further. London Records shelved the album entirely and dropped Sleep from the label. The stress of the standoff broke the band apart. Guitarist Matt Pike went on to form High on Fire. Bassist Al Cisneros and drummer Chris Hackius disappeared from music for roughly half a decade, before eventually forming the meditative doom project Ohm. The album that caused all of it, one of the most influential stoner doom records ever made, didn't get an authorized official release until 2003, 7 years after the label buried it, and years after the band that made it had already fallen apart. Number 3. Bobby Liebling, Pentagram. In 1971, years before most people had ever heard the phrase doom metal, a teenage Bobby Liebling was already writing exactly that. Slow, heavy, gloom-drenched hard rock that ran parallel to what Black Sabbath was doing overseas, without either band knowing much about the other. His band, Pentagram, recorded a song called Forever My Queen in 1973, a track now regarded by doom metal historians as one of the genre's true foundational documents, right alongside Sabbath's earliest records. It should have made Pentagram legends. Instead, thanks to a chain of botched record deals, lineup implosions, and bad timing, the song barely reached anyone at the time. What happened to Bobby Liebling next is one of the most harrowing true stories in metal history. Decades of hard drug addiction swallowed his life almost entirely. By the mid-2000s, he was living in his elderly parents' basement in Alexandria, Virginia, physically wasting away, largely written off by people who knew him as beyond saving. A devoted fan named Sean Pelletier refused to give up on him, spending years pulling Liebling back from the edge, a story captured in the harrowing 2011 documentary Last Days Here. Pentagram, the band that had quietly invented American doom metal a full 2 years before Sabbath's Master of Reality, had spent the better part of 3 decades as a ghost. Until Liebling, against every odd, clawed his way back to a stage in 2010, sober, and finally got to watch the genre he helped invent claim him as a legend while he was still alive to see it. Number 2. Dimebag Darrell, Pantera. Darrell Abbott, known to the entire metal world as Dimebag Darrell, co-founded Pantera with his brother, drummer Vinnie Paul, in Texas back in 1981. For most of the 80s, the band chased the glam metal trend with little to show for it. Then, on the 1990 album Cowboys from Hell, Dimebag stripped away the thrash speed blur that dominated extreme metal at the time and replaced it with something slower, heavier, and built entirely around bruising, syncopated riff and groove interplay with the drums. A sound that critics and musicians alike now credit as the literal birth of an entire subgenre, groove metal. 2 years later, Vulgar Display of Power doubled down on it, and its lead single, Walk, became one of the most instantly recognizable riffs in the history of heavy music. A sound so influential, it reshaped the entire trajectory of 90s metal, inspiring everyone from Machine Head to Lamb of God. Pantera splintered in 2003 amid growing tension inside the band, and Dimebag and Vinnie Paul launched a new group, Damage Plan. On December 8, 2004, barely a year later, Damage Plan took the stage at the Alrosa Villa Club in Columbus, Ohio. Just 90 seconds into the very first song, a 25-year-old former Marine named Nathan Gale jumped the stage barrier, walked directly up to Dimebag, and shot him at point-blank range, killing him instantly, along with 3 other people, before police stopped him minutes later. Dimebag Darrell was 38 years old. Rolling Stone would later rank him among the greatest guitarists in history. The man who single-handedly built groove metal's entire rhythmic vocabulary, murdered on stage doing the exact thing that made him legendary in the first place. Number 1. Chuck Schuldiner, Death. Chuck Schuldiner started the band Death in 1983, when he was still a teenager on Long Island, and by his mid-20s he was widely recognized across the metal underground as the single most important architect of death metal as a genre, Kerrang! Magazine would later call him one of the most significant figures in the history of metal. Across 7 albums between 1987 and 1998, Schuldiner kept reinventing his own sound, pulling death metal toward progressive and jazz fusion territory years before most of the scene caught up, all while remaining the band's only continuous member through constant lineup turnover. He hated the nickname Godfather of Death Metal. He never wanted to be first, he said. He just wanted to keep pushing the genre forward. On his 32nd birthday, in May 1999, Schuldiner was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive brainstem tumor. He had no health insurance that would cover it, and the surgery he needed was completely unaffordable on his own. So the metal community itself stepped in, with musicians from Korn to the Red Hot Chili Peppers auctioning off personal items just to help pay his medical bills. Surgery in January 2000 initially seemed successful. Then, in May 2001, the cancer came back. This time, there was no coming back from it. Chuck Schuldiner died on December 13, 2001, at just 34 years old. The man who built the entire foundation of death metal, gone before he ever got to see the genre reach the size and global reach it has today.